Day after one of the greatest 49ers games in history. They can win the Super Bowl this year. They were left for dead when Fred Warner went down against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's go on a walk through North Beach. We're going to head up to the square. They're asking me to come on the TV in Seattle in a few minutes, so I have to be ready to do that. Seahawks fans, I think, are a little bit nervous about Sam Darnold in big games. 49ers fans don't have to be nervous about Brock Purdy in big games because, well, he's delivered in so many of them, including last night against the Chicago Bears. So how much better does the 49ers defense need to be for this team to have a legitimate shot to win the Super Bowl? Because so far, over the course of 6 straight wins, including what we saw yesterday against the Chicago Bears, San Francisco is defying odds with an overpowering offense, really good special teams, and obviously a defense that's leaking oil. I think that the key lies in Fred Warner's return. He's the guy who's going to give you at least a couple more stops per game. They had 5 stops yesterday. But it wasn't like they were completely hopeless. They stopped Chicago twice to begin the game. They stopped them at the end of the first half, and they stopped the Bears. In the fourth quarter, there was a field goal that Chicago had to settle for, plus the famous goal line stop that we're going to be talking about for a long, long time. Can you up that to 7 stops a game, 8 stops a game if you add Fred Warner into the mix? I think so. So how do you build the bridge from now until Fred Warner's return? You beat the Seahawks so that you have the wild card round of the playoffs off. This is the weekend on Saturday where the 49ers are just going to have to scrounge to make it work somehow, some way, whether it's 30 plus points against the really good Seattle Seahawks defense from Brock Purdy in the offense. Sure, whether it's opportunistic defense taking advantage of Sam Darnold choking in another playoff-like scenario. Remember last year, Sam did not do well in the final 2 games of the season. That could be the path. Maybe it's a mix of those 2 things. Somehow, some way, the 49ers need to find a way, that's a Fred Warner quote, to get this to where Fred Warner can come out of the bullpen and give this defense a couple more stops per game. The good news for the 49ers is that they have the best quarterback in the game. That's Brock Purdy. And when you have that on your team, I think a lot of the existing rules are off. They're averaging 36 points a game ever since Brock Purdy has returned from his turf toe injury. 36 points per game, that's NFL record stuff. They won a game under parameters that a team has never won a game under yesterday. They were able to overcome a defense that allowed over 35 points, a defense that didn't force any takeaways. They were able to overcome that to win. So this offense is already breaking rules. Now the 49ers, to make this as sustainable as possible, need to get it to a point where they could start elevating the defense again. And I think the key lies in the captain, in Fred Warner, who was blowing that foghorn before the game yesterday at Levi Stadium. So we can talk about the 49ers returning big-time talent. How quickly is George Kittle going to be back? And then the big question, how quickly is Trent Williams going to be able to return? I think the Trent question at the top of everyone's minds right now. He never had a hamstring injury. So this was a really interesting answer from Kyle Shanahan yesterday about the status of Trent Williams.
Not sure. I mean, he tried to go and he couldn't. So Trent told me he's never pulled a hamstring before, so not really sure how it'll be.
It happened on the pick 6, very first play of the game. As TJ Edwards was running back with the football, Trent Williams was trying to chase him down, and that is when he pulled his hamstring. Trent went into the blue injury tent, was in there for quite a bit of time, and then when he exited, there obviously still was a little bit of a limp. He seemed upset. He ripped off his gloves, was watching the rest of the game without his helmet. In Trent Williams' stead, the 49ers saw Austin Pleasance, who entered this game with only 98 career snaps under his belt. Pleasance allowed only 2 pressures over 40 snaps. One of the pressures was a very, very damaging one. It forced the 49ers to punt in the fourth quarter. But I think that all things considered, Austin Pleasance was very, very good. And I talked to him in the 49ers locker room yesterday actually got a ton of good insight on Brock Purdy and the way that the 49ers offense is able to succeed even when guys get hurt through Austin Pleasant's experience. He explained that. We're going to play that in a little bit. First, though, here's Kyle Shanahan's evaluation of Pleasant's in the immediate aftermath of this game.
That whole game, and to not be an issue, I mean, I think I only talked about him on 1 3rd down. So my sense is he played real good.
So Kyle Shanahan was speaking of the 3rd down that I was just discussing a few seconds prior to that. Happened in the 4th quarter. 49ers were moving the football. They were near midfield because Purdy got hit by Austin Booker, who blew by Pleasance on that 3rd down. San Francisco chose to punt. In retrospect, I mean, they did win the game, so maybe Kyle Shanahan wouldn't change his decision. But the Bears were back to the 49ers spot on the field around, I think it was around the 45-yard line, where they punted from. The Bears were right back there in 3 plays. At the time, I said, hey, Kyle, maybe you should go for this because your defense isn't stopping anything at the time. Thankfully for the 49ers, they actually did force a field goal on that drive, and then they returned with a touchdown on the way back. Speaking of that, how about the Ricky Pearsall block on Jawan Jennings' touchdown? Flies out of nowhere, and Jaquan Brisker, who was trying to tackle Jawan Jennings, just absolutely flinched because Pearsall was flying in there like a missile, and Brisker was like, well, I want no part of this. That was the Ricky Pearsall reliability game. Ricky was in a lot of pain up until Saturday. Kyle Shanahan even shared yesterday that he didn't think that Ricky Pearsall was going to play on Sunday for the 49ers, which almost certainly would have spelled defeat for San Francisco. We figured they needed one of Ricky Pearsall or George Kittle to create the spacing that they needed on offense. Well, Ricky, not only did he play, he obviously was hurting. He dinged up his knee again, had to exit for a few plays, saw the trainer, got right back in there, delivered 85 yards to lead the team, some of the biggest catches of the game, including one which the 49ers just shared on social media. Let's take a look at this big Ricky Pearsall reception, deep left from Brock Purdy. It's going to be slow motion from the 49ers. So I can narrate this. This is awesome. I think this is the 30-yard deep to the left. Play action fake to Christian McCaffrey. That's a long drop from Brock Purdy. This is the one where Ricky Pearsall absolutely cooked the cornerback. If you see the Ricky Pearsall vantage point of this play, he had a very, very nice break that put a Bears DB onto the ground, opened up Ricky. And then this is actually where he did tweak the knee, and he missed a few plays after. But the fact that Ricky Pearsall was able to deliver in this game, despite not being 100%, the fact that he was blocking his ass off downfield for Jawan Jennings on the 38-yard touchdown, the dramatic go-ahead, ultimate game-winning score for the 49ers, I think that shows that Ricky Pearsall is going to be there when you're counting on him. And this is a guy who survived being shot in the chest his rookie year, came back, played that season, finished hot in 2024, and now is delivering for the 49ers despite the fact that he suffered a PCL injury in week 4, toughing it out even though he's not 100%. I think a lot of credit has to go out to Ricky Pearsall's toughness, and just the geometry of the field is relying upon Ricky Pearsall and the separation that he is able to generate, because this offense has, even with George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey healthy, has clearly needed an outside wide receiving presence that can make space based on the way that he could beat man coverage. That's what they miss most ever since Brandon Ayuk has gone MIA. And Ricky Pearsall is the one talent on this team who can best deliver that. Jawan Jennings, really good player, really integral piece to what the 49ers are doing, but he doesn't have the type of speed that Ricky Pearsall has to create the type of space that you need, the gravitational pull that you need on the outside. You need somebody who's going to consistently give you over 2 yards per route run when he's on the field. Ricky Pearsall, when he's been healthy enough this year, has been that guy. He was the go-to target on the play that I just showed you, the play action off for McCaffrey. It was a go-to target on a third down later in the game where Brock Purdy found him cutting back over left to right. He was the go-to target on, what was it, 4th and I think 3 for the 49ers in the first half, a massive, massive play for San Francisco. He is a game changer on this offense. George Kittle, today on the Pat McAfee show, Adam Schefter said that Kittle is pushing to play this Saturday and he has a chance to be back. Kittle wanted to play this weekend. Unfortunately for the 49ers, he woke up with some swelling in the ankle on Sunday morning, so they decided not to even run him through the test. These two games, the one against the Bears last night and the one against the Seattle Seahawks on the short week, which is not good for the 49ers and Kittle, but the short week this week, they add up to a playoff game. Because if the 49ers win both and they're halfway there, Journey was there yesterday, by the way, at the 49ers game, halftime show, halfway there. But the 49ers, if they win both, it is the equivalent of a playoff win. Even more than that, it's a playoff win in the wild card round, and you don't even have to show any of your cards. You can just sit at home preparing for the divisional round opponent. Give Kyle Shanahan 2 weeks to prepare for anybody with this offense that's already at the top of the league with Brock Purdy, and I wish opposing defenses luck. I think the 49ers, with that inside track, home field advantage, extra time to prepare, extra health because of rest, even if the defense is terrible, they would have a decent chance to win 2 straight games and host the Super Bowl on their turf. It's all about creating the easiest path possible right now, and the ability to do so comes down to one game against the Seattle Seahawks at 5 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. Now, speaking of Trent Williams, speaking of injury management, the 49ers going through a lot of the tests with Trent Williams today. Tomorrow, we will see how the 49ers shuffle everything at practice. I would not expect Trent to practice tomorrow regardless, because he normally gets that first day of the week off due to just vet maintenance. That's when Austin Pleasance has plugged in at practice, and that proved to be invaluable for the 49ers yesterday. I caught up with Austin Pleasance in the 49ers locker room, and of all the things that he had to say, there's so much interesting stuff. I thought that the most interesting part of all this was the experience that he's gotten working with Brock Purdy on the Wednesdays, or in this case, it's going to be Tuesday because everything is moved up a day, as the starting first string left tackle for the 49ers at practice on Trent Williams vet day. That has actually helped Austin Pleasance acclimate to the structure of the 49ers offense, the habits of Brock Purdy. And it's a big part of the reason why he was able to so seamlessly fill in and give up only those 2 pressures over 40 snaps yesterday in place of Trent Williams. Here's Austin Pleasance in the 49ers locker room.
Rolling. It definitely felt good, but I don't really focus on that. You know, it's just whatever's in front of me and whatever plays in front of me. That's about it. So.
What's been your experience at left tackle to this point?
You know, because the last 5 years I've been bouncing around P squads, and when you're in that position, you got to be able to do a little bit of everything. Yeah. You know, so I mean, I've had a lot of reps at left tackle. You know, and I felt comfortable with that. So.
What was your view of Brock's play where he found Juszczyk in the end zone, where he kind of danced through the 2 defenders? Did you have a clear view of that? Or was that behind you? I couldn't tell because it was a scramble.
So that was, I think, the boot that you're talking
about.
Yeah.
And then it looked like they were going to get him, but then he kind of juked and stepped through him and found Kyle.
Yeah, honestly, I was just making sure I wasn't downfield on the play. I was looking for where the ball was at, and I didn't want to, you know, make a bad bad play. So I was just like, let me back up a little bit, and then, you know, Juice was there, and it worked out.
So a quarterback like Brock can act. That can be a danger, right? If he's so good eluding, you have to keep that in mind. How difficult is that if you're not getting some of those first team reps with Brock per se? You know,
I think Brock's consistency is huge, especially his pocket presence. You know, because like if it's a 5-step drop, 7-step drop, like I know he's going to be where they say he's going to be. You know, which is really helpful whenever you are left tackle. So I'm grateful for that. You know, so
that, and just so you think that's probably one of the main reasons that you could step in and things can operate seamlessly because that quarterback gives that consistency to the line in front of him?
It's definitely a factor. Mm-hmm. You know, I wouldn't say it's like the main factor. There's a lot of things that go into it. You know, I've with Trent and everything, you know, taking vet days or whatever, like I've gotten a lot of reps in practice, so I felt comfortable and I felt ready. You know, so.
Austin Pleasant. What an answer there, talking about Brock Purdy and the consistency that he gives the offensive linemen in front of him, whether it be a 5-step drop, a 7-step drop, or even a scramble drill. O-linemen know where Purdy is going to be. And I cannot oversell the importance of that fact. There are QBs, and one of them is the guy who played against the 49ers last night, Caleb Williams, where very often his own offensive linemen don't know where the hell he is. And that makes it really, really hard for the offense to operate at full efficiency. One of the things that has made Brock Purdy as good as he is his ability to create off schedule. He's got a long time between snap and release because he is moving around a lot to create, to buy some more time for receivers to separate downfield. But on top of that, he can move around within the expectation and the structure of the blocking assignments for the offensive line. He understands the spatial dynamics at play. Nowhere was this more evident than on the touchdown pass to Kyle Juszczyk, where he backpedaled and then split two defensive linemen, stepped up, knew exactly where the line of scrimmage was, and fired downfield. You heard Austin Pleasant joking around. I was just trying to make sure that I wasn't illegally downfield. That throw happened 8.2 seconds after Brock Purdy took the snap. That's a really long time in NFL. 8 seconds from snap to release is an eternity, and without good awareness, offensive linemen can easily cross further than 5 yards downfield and incur a penalty. But A, Austin Pleasant was aware. B, he credited Brock Purdy's consistency at practice for being aware, because the guys know when he's on a scramble drill. The guys know what the procedure for a 5-step drop is. They know what the procedure for a 7-step drop is because of the consistency that Purdy shows both in the practice and in the game. And Pleasant's also credited the fact that he's gotten some reps to help establish some of these good habits within the context of the 49ers offense because of the vet days that Trent Williams does routinely get every single week. So all of that came back to pay off for the 49ers as Pleasant entered the lineup and gave up only those 2 pressures over 40 pass blocking snaps in this game against the Chicago Bears. Now, the issue moving forward here into this next week, assuming that Trent is going to be out, and I think with a hamstring, unless it was very, very minor, and it didn't seem like that because Trent couldn't come back into the game. So I think you have to assume that this week would be a stretch for Trent Williams to get out there. So Pleasant goes again at left tackle, played well for the 49ers, not perfectly, but well for the 49ers in his first extended action against the Chicago Bears. The Seattle Seahawks have a monstrous front. Defensively, as far as the quality of opponent that the 49ers are facing, this takes a significant step up. So how will how will Purdy respond to this greater challenge? One of the best pieces of news for the 49ers in the larger scale here is how good Colton McKivitz has been and how well everybody else on this offensive line is playing right now. Sometimes when you have an offensive line that's struggling in general or is mediocre in general, one guy gets hurt, well, the replacement doesn't look good at all because you already had issues that you were trying to solve at other parts of the line. Spencer Burford played maybe his best game as a 49er yesterday against the Bears. Colton McKivitz is the second highest graded right tackle in the entire league, behind only Penei Sewell, the star of the Detroit Lions. the 49ers are in a spot right now where Dominic Pooney is healthy and, again, playing his best football at right guard. And guess what? I mean, don't spit out your drink right now, because I know that there's been a lot piled onto this guy. So much of it has been unfair, but Jake Brendel is playing really, really good football. So outside of that left tackle position where Trent Williams got hurt, the 49ers have had 4+ performers, especially in recent weeks. So when you're plugging in a fifth guy, a substitute like Austin Pleasants, into a line that's already playing well, that could help be the rising tide that lifts all boats. And I think that the 49ers saw a lot of that benefit against the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday night. So 40 pass blocking snaps, 2 pressures allowed for Austin Pleasants. I wrote on X about what Pleasants said in that interview. The 5 and 7 step drop rhythm and the scramble drill poise allows that Brock Purdy shows, allows the 49ers offensive linemen to really have a good idea of where he's at all times. And it allows the 49ers to properly block. And they maximize the efficiency of the personnel that they are deploying to pass block. Remember that Purdy has the best pressure to sack ratio in all of football, meaning that he's the hardest quarterback to sack in all of football. So if you're going to handicap this against the Seattle Seahawks pass rush, which is one of the best in the game, you figure that the 49ers have obviously good cohesion up front, good cohesion with their quarterback, but then the quarterback himself is very, very elusive and very hard to bring down. That's one of the special attributes that Brock Purdy brings to the table, one that I think is going to be extremely handy in this game on Saturday night. The first time the 49ers played the Seahawks, it was Purdy's escapability that helped push them through to a victory. Remember the final drive. Remember the go-ahead touchdown to Jake Tonjes. That was on a scramble drill to the right. It was a Joe Montana type of play. It looked a lot like the catch to Dwight Clark, except that Purdy, as he was running away from the Seattle pass rush, found Jake Tonjes, who at the time was a seldom used tight end. Tonjes has blossomed into somebody who's obviously heavily used whenever George Kittle isn't available, but I do think that Kittle is going to make that strong push to play. We did relay that message earlier in this show. But the big question for San Francisco's offense is going to be, how can they sustain the good offensive line play they enjoyed even without Trent Williams against the Bears, against a better Seattle Seahawks front? I mean, this is a bear of a front. We talked about it after the Week 1 game, and now 4 months later, ahead of the Week 18 game, we're going to talk about it some more. Leonard Williams is one of the best in the game up there. Jaron Reed, the veteran on the inside, DeMarcus Lawrence on the other side of Leonard Williams. I mean, you got 2 good edge rushers between those 2 players, and between Reed and Byron Murphy in the middle, you have very, very strong interior pass rushers for the Seahawks. They can get after it as a front, and they whipped the 49ers in the run game back in Week 1. San Francisco was hardly able to get anything at all there. Purdy had to do almost all of the creating himself. Ultimately, that was successful, but the 49ers also had a better defense at the time because both Nick Bosa and Fred Warner were available in Week 1. This time, I don't think you can count on the defense holding the Seattle Seahawks under 20 points. I think that you've got to shoot for the high 20s at least if you're the 49ers offense. And so much of their ability to do that is going to be dependent on the escapability of Brock Purdy and the abilities likely of Austin Pleasants at the left tackle position to at least hold the fort to a reasonable degree so that Purdy can put that league best pressure to sack ratio to work. A lot to talk about, some questions to answer, and I will hop into the comment section to get through to some of that stuff. Mike is keeping me apprised on some of the latest news. I've been obviously on social media a lot, writing an article up on the San Francisco Standard. We had a big article up on the Standard yesterday, and I guess I should say today. It came out really early this morning. I'm on zero sleep, by the way, ever since this game. Ran into a couple of fans on the sidewalk when we were recording the intro to this video out in North Beach. And I told one of them that, I haven't slept. And his name was Mo, really nice guy, talking to Mo on the sidewalk. And he said he got about 4 or 5 hours of sleep. He was at the game last night, and I said, well, that's 5 or 6 times as much as me. I'm just going to have to power through these shows, write some of this content. Very, very sleep deprived, but that's part of what we sign up for, especially on the unexpected short week. The NFL decided to call an audible on us and say, hey, you got to get ready to play again on Saturday. And right now it's Monday, and that means that the Tuesday laundry day is not going to be a thing this week. Have to get all the analysis wrapped up as quickly as possible, watch a lot of tape this evening. You know, it might even get to the point where I'm watching 49ers Bears tape instead of the Rams Monday Night Football game, since the Rams have now been eliminated from 1 seed contention. That's one of the crazy overarching twists of all of this is that the Rams, they have the best, I think, offense-defense balance in the league. Like if you're eliminating special teams, and I know that in practicality you can't do that, but if you're just looking at offensive and defensive strength cumulatively, the Rams top the league. I mean, the expected points tell you that. The DVOA tells you that. Special teams has been the great downward equalizer for the Rams, but the offense-defense combo, they've got a top 5 defense. They have a top 3 run game. The passing attack has been strong with Matthew Stafford. I mean, they're good. There's no denying that the Rams are good, and in a way, they might even be exceptional based on how strong the offense-defense combination is. However, typically when you do have what the Rams have, especially relative to the rest of the league, you're going to earn that number 1 seed, and you'll have the easier path through the playoffs, and you'll be set up as the NFC favorite to be in the Super Bowl, and then all you have to do is win 1 game at the Super Bowl, and you hold up the Lombardi Trophy. The Rams, though, thanks to special teams blunders and thanks to the fact that Matthew Stafford turned into a turnover machine that lost the game against the Carolina Panthers a few weeks ago, the Rams completely lost their grip on the 1 seed. Now they've been eliminated from 1 seed contention. It's going to go to either the Seahawks or the 49ers, and the Rams, no matter what, are going to have to take the hard way through the NFC playoffs. They're going to have to play in the wild card round on the road. Then they're going to have to play, if they win, on the road in the divisional round, and then we'll see how it all lines up for the NFC championship game if they keep on winning, but that's still far, far ahead for the Rams. It's not as simple as winning a home game at SoFi Stadium in the divisional round, coming off of rest, and then winning an NFC championship. So despite the fact that the Rams might have that best offense-defense combination, they don't have the easiest path. The door has opened for teams like the 49ers, for teams like the Seahawks, who analytically might be a little bit worse than the Rams, especially the 49ers. The door has opened for those teams to have an easier road to the Super Bowl and therefore a higher chance to upset LA and make it there. And that's why it was such a big deal when we were watching that Seattle Rams game a couple weeks ago. The Rams, it looked like they had that packed up. They're up 30-14 with just a few minutes to go. And then their Achilles heel, special teams struck, and Rashid Shaheed took back the punt for a touchdown. And the Seahawks offense woke up, and Seattle won in overtime. And it was the one piece of slippage that the 49ers needed to threaten this number 1 seed. And several other things have broken San Francisco's direction ever since then. And now they're in position to win once more and be in true position to grab that NFC number 1 seed and have the easy, quote unquote, easy path to the Super Bowl, which is at Levi's Stadium. It's going to be awesome on Saturday. The Seahawks have a ton to play for. The 49ers have a ton to play for. It is the 6th anniversary today of the Dre Greenlaw play at the goal line, with identical stakes to this game coming up on Saturday. I tweeted about it a little bit earlier this morning. We'll put it back up on the screen now. I've tweeted so much that I have to scroll through a few pictures, but it is an absolutely poetic full circle story. A year ago, or 6 years ago, we were talking about the 49ers heading up to the Pacific Northwest. We were talking about the possibility of Marshawn Lynch restarting his Seahawks career. They signed him out of retirement just for that one game. We were discussing the fact that the 49ers defense in 2019 was really trailing off toward the end of the season due to injuries. We were asking, will Jimmy Garoppolo and the offense have enough to blow past the Seattle Seahawks in week 17? That was before the 18-week regular season. And the answers were all affirmative for the 49ers. They did do enough, but just barely, just by about this much when Dre Greenlaw was able to stonewall Jacob Hollister at the goal line. Crazy, crazy memories from just 6 years ago today. Here's the picture. It's still one of the iconic pictures in 49ers history. And the win yesterday against Chicago sets up the opportunity for some more memorable moments on Saturday night. Let's see what Mike has for us. Let's see what you guys have for us in the comment section. Any news, Mike? Doesn't look like it. Well, we started this with the update on Trent Williams. We got a question on Renardo Green. When his neck feels a little bit better, he might be out there. I don't think that the 49ers' weakness is at the cornerback position right now, though. I thought Lenore had a game-saving tackle on the second-to-last play when we saw the hook and lateral from the Chicago Bears. That was a crazy play call that almost worked from Ben Johnson. I don't think Lenore was really targeted last night. I don't think Darrell Luter Jr. was targeted all that much. Most of the damage against the 49ers defense through the air comes against their safeties. So the safeties and the linebackers in coverage, the linebackers not named Fred Warner because he's obviously out right now, those are the positions that have been victimized time and time again in this 49ers defense. And those are the ones that maybe can be boosted by a return of Fred Warner, but it's not going to be happening on Saturday. That might happen maybe as soon as the divisional round, probably not until the NFC Championship game. It's becoming more and more realistic, but the 49ers still are not within reaching distance of either of those two games. First, you need to beat the Seahawks, and then you make it to at least the divisional round. You're one game away from the championship round, which is when Fred Warner might most realistically be able to come back for San Francisco and give this defense a little bit of a boost. The question, do the 49ers run a wide 9 against Sam Darnold? They're going to run a wide 9 against anybody. Did you guys see the alignment on the final play against the Chicago Bears with Yetur Gross-Matos and company? I mean, that was a wide 9 to end all wide 9s. I have a few pictures here of that from earlier today. I want to get the actual initial alignment for you guys. Here we go. So speaking of the wide 9, the 49ers have never stopped running the wide 9. They are going to live and die by who they are as a defensive line. Chris Kasurek loves the wide 9. This is what it looked like for San Francisco on that final play. I'm going to identify the defensive lineman. I mean, look at it. He's almost out in the slot. Like, if there was a slot receiver, Cleveland Farrell could be lined up to cover him while in a three-point stance. The right tackle is right here. Farrell is a good 5 yards past the right tackle. You have to go to the right side of the goalpost to see where Bryce Huff is located. So, I mean, the wide 9 is designed to give results like the 49ers saw on this final play. I'm going to illustrate it with a few more screen grabs here. The other two defensive linemen are Sam Okawanu and Yetur Gross-Matos. By the way, Keon White dealing with a groin issue. We're going to get an update on Keon White tomorrow. And we'll get an update on Upton Stout's concussion tomorrow. We'll also see if the 49ers open up Jacob Cowing's practice window. Kyle Shanahan said the team was thinking about doing that this week. But here you have the 49ers' 4 defensive linemen. And I'm going to do some reporting this week because the 2 linebackers in the middle here threatening an A-gap blitz, 53 Winners and 48 Tatum Bethune. Apparently they were supposed to blitz, but they decided not to. So it's unclear to me, but Bethune suggested that they might have defied Robert Saleh's play call to drop back into coverage. It obviously worked out for the 49ers, but I think that the dynamics of this whole last play, once I delve into a lot of what actually happened, it's going to create a fascinating story, and it's going to create a way for us to truly understand this defense from a deeper lens. create your first impression of the play through this screen grab. Then you move on to this one. This is when the rush is already initiated. Bethune and D. Winters have dropped back. So Bethune said on KMBR in the postgame show that they were supposed to rush, but they didn't. So you could see that they're both dropped back into coverage here. Winters a little bit further out. Tatum Bethune near the goal line. Okawanu was definitely supposed to drop in coverage. It was a zone drop. So it was going to be Okawanu back, Yetur Gross-Matos back, and the two linebackers crashing. But since the linebackers didn't crash, you have three Bears offensive linemen, the three interior guys anchored by Drew Dahlman. That is the son of former 49ers center Chris Dahlman, the Stanford product. Both of them are Stanford products. But they're blocking nobody right now. So the 49ers are basically playing 11-on-8 football. Whether this was by accident or by just genius ruse perpetuated by D. Winters and Tatum Bethune not rushing, or if it was Robert Saleh devising this and then telling Tatum Bethune and D. Winters to tell the media that they went off script just to confuse the 49ers' next opponent. I'm really not sure how the 49ers got to this point, but you have three Bears offensive linemen looking around for somebody to block, all while Bryce Huff runs the hoop around the left tackle. And this is where the wide nine came to beautiful fruition for the 49ers. If Bryce Huff is lined up a little bit further to the inside, so you see him right here. This is the initial freeze frame. He's outside of the hash marks. So remember where he's at in this freeze frame outside the hash marks. The second freeze frame, he still is at that hash mark. He's only crossed the hash. He's not really all that far inside of it. If on the first frame, he's inside the hash, and this is not a wide nine alignment, I don't know if Bryce Huff is able to run the hoop as effectively as he did around the left tackle. And this is the action that forced Caleb Williams to bail the pocket. The rest, of course, was history. We could find the actual pocket bailing freeze frame for Caleb Williams. It involves him getting away from Bryce Huff, who did get a hand on his ankle but wasn't quite able to bring him down. But that initial flush out set the table for Yetur Gross-Matos. He's down here, and I've talked about this earlier today, but I'll talk about it again. This delivered the table for Yetur Gross-Matos to secure one of the best plays in 49ers defensive history. How did Yetur do it? Well, as you can see here, next frame, he started charging hard. He came from his position. Sorry, I'm scrambling between a lot of different freeze frames here. He came from this position down at the bottom near the goal line with Caleb Williams getting past Bryce Huff to this position very quickly. And then from here, Yetur Gross-Matos got to the spot where he was pile driving Caleb Williams into the ground. The total distance between here and here, goal line and pile driving effort near the 20-yard line, was about 27 yards on the ground on the hypotenuse of the triangle for Yetur Gross-Matos. And he covered that ground very, very quickly to bury Caleb Williams and force the throw that obviously didn't make it to where it needed to be in the end zone. Amazing bend, but don't break defense for the 49ers. Wow. This is right. Yetur Gross-Matos being back will be huge. Troy Aikman and Joe Buck will be calling 49ers Seahawks on Saturday night. That was obvious because it is going to be an ESPN ABC game, and they no longer work for Fox. They're with ESPN and ABC. I personally like when Troy Aikman and Joe Buck call 49ers games because I think that it feels like a big game. I know that they're not the most popular with everybody, but my personal preference and my personal opinion is that they're good announcers, and I think it's going to make it feel like the huge game that it is. Buck and Aikman as the 49ers play Seattle for that number 1 seed. Williams for a split second had a chance to run it in, maybe, but if you watch Yetur Gross-Matos and his pursuit, it was really, really impressive. This is probably the split second that you're talking about. Yetur was not running out of control, but he was still moving very quickly, which is a testament to his freakish athleticism. He was bearing down with his big frame and with his long strides on Caleb Williams, but he was doing so in control. He wasn't running completely balls to the wall. He was actually maintaining a decent running balance. So he was going to be ready to shift to the right or shift to the left in case Caleb Williams did try to do something. And he just forced Caleb Williams to back up instead of even attempting to run a juke move on him to step up. And I thought that was a great display of technique and athleticism from Yetur Gross-Matos. The update on Trent is, tests on his hamstring going on. And I think time is also going to be important. I'm just here to brace you for some missed time for Trent Williams. The only game that the 49ers currently have on the schedule is this season finale against Seattle. They obviously are going to be in the playoffs, but it just now depends on win or loss. If they lose, they're going to have to be right back out there the following weekend, very likely at Philadelphia. And if they win, they won't have to play until around January 17th. So given the health status of Trent Williams, winning this weekend has become all the more imperative for the 49ers. You can find a way to rest the team while Trent Williams also gets the rest from his pulled hamstring. One of my viewers on Saturday predicted 3 Purdy touchdown passes and 2 Purdy touchdown runs. Who was that? Ryan Jones saying that somebody on Saturday called it. Well, whoever called it, I mean, if you have receipts, if you want to send me a screenshot, hopefully I get it, but my email's on my X account, then I'd be happy to give you some love on one of our next shows because that's a hell of a prediction. How were the media meals last night? Man, I don't even remember. Again, I've only slept like 45 minutes to an hour. I didn't sleep very long last night. So I'm blanking out a little bit. There's a brownout on some of the details from yesterday. I do remember stopping at In-N-Out Burger on the way home from Santa Clara to San Francisco right before they closed at about 12:30, and actually wrote some of this article up here at In-N-Out Burger. I think this was Holly Street, San Carlos, right off 101. I think a lot of this article was written there, if I can recall correctly. I'm really, really blanking out on it, though, so you'll have to just take me at my uncertain word at this time. Yes, I do believe it was Holly Street, San Carlos. It was about 12:30 a.m., 1 a.m., wrote the good first 3 quarters of this article, and then finished the rest in San Francisco early in the morning. It is worth your read. Talked to Mac Jones in the 49ers locker room, gave historical perspective. I mean, 6 years ago today, the 49ers were in Seattle for that game, the battle for the 1 seed, a game that had so much in common with the victory last night. It's all stuff that ends up tying together and becomes very, very beautifully attached in our study of 49ers history and 49ers franchise lore. Yesterday's game immediately becomes part of that. Look at Brock Purdy running away there from Austin Booker. Booker gave the 49ers and Austin Pleasance some trouble yesterday, but I think that all things considered, 2 pressures given up over 40 pass blocking attempts, really, really good stuff from Austin Pleasance. Anyway, go ahead and check that out up on the San Francisco Standard. Article is there. I'm going to try to toss it up into the comment section right now. It's been a lot of fun talking to you guys. We've got a big week coming up. That's the Trent Williams update. You heard about the hamstring, his first hamstring pull, usually something that sidelines players for at least a couple of weeks, makes this coming game against the Seattle Seahawks all the more important 49ers would love to punch their ticket straight to the divisional round, but they're going to need to gut things out in all likelihood without Trent Williams, and that would mean a Austin Pleasance encore. Thanks for watching. Check out The Standard. We'll talk to you very soon.